Dr. Adele Piper, and I'm a women's health doctor. These are real questions that I'm asked by my patients, by my family, and my friends. These are real things that I wish I could discuss with every woman if I could. So pull up a chair and let's get talking. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1, Anatomy. Today, I'm going to give you more confidence to understand your own anatomy. There's a reason why this is Episode 1. This is really important for all women as it empowers us to know and understand our own body and how to communicate about it. I treat women of all ages, and across the board, I find frequently women are not comfortable talking about their own body parts. So let's break this taboo and learn together. Let's start with a basic image of female internal reproductive organs. Of primary importance are the ovaries, the site of egg stimulation and estrogen production every month through a hormone process that we will cover in a future session on the menstrual cycle. When an egg is released from the ovary, it travels through the fallopian tube and is drawn towards the uterus. The main layer is muscle, called the myometrium, and the inside layer is the sheddable lining, called the endometrium. The muscle layer has an ability to contract, like any other muscle in your body, like your arm, except it does it on its own subconsciously. We feel this as menstrual cramps during a period, and of course, much more intensely as labor when having a baby. The exit from the uterus is the cervix. This is a gate between the uterus and the vagina, and it's shaped like a small inner tube with the cervical canal in the center connecting the uterus to the vagina. The canal is intended to be closed the vast majority of the time so that the inside uterus is protected from the outside world on the other side of the vagina. The cervix actually makes a mucus discharge that helps to keep this gate sealed and closed. The cervix is a rather amazing thing. It's quite firm as it's made of muscle, and it opens ever so slightly every month to allow for the lining of the uterus to be shed in your period. The cervix can open though to 10 centimeters during labor to allow for a vaginal delivery. So menstrual lining every month comes through the cervix to the vagina and out of the body. We'll cover options to manage menstrual fluid in a future episode on period products. The vagina, even though in pictures it looks like an open tube, actually is collapsed together with the walls touching each other, like a sock that's not on a foot. It also is a very fascinating area, enough so that we might have a whole session about the vagina later on too. So to recap, inside the body are the ovaries, the tubes, the uterus, the cervix, the vagina. Where the vagina meets the outside world is an area referred to as the vulva. Two V words, very different areas. Many people use the terms interchangeably, but they are distinctly different. The vulva is basically everything that can be seen from the outside. To better understand the areas of the vulva, we have my friend here, Vita. When a woman is laying on her back, the vulva is in this orientation. Below are the buttocks and the anus. Just above the vaginal opening, and somewhat hidden, is the small opening to the urethra. It can hardly be seen, as of course it doesn't stand out like this, but rather the urethra is the same pink color as everything else, and it's closed. The urethra in females is actually quite short, only a few centimeters until you reach the bladder. This is one of the reasons why females are much more susceptible to bladder infections than males, as the bacteria don't have far to travel. The opening to the vagina and the urethra are exquisitely sensitive, and they need protection from day-to-day life, like clothing. First, we have the very delicate tissue of the labia minora. Minora meaning smaller. This tissue is very smooth and moist from the secretions from the vagina. Now, the way Latin works is that when something has been named minora, meaning smaller, there's usually a larger or majora. So surrounding the labia minora are the larger labia majora. Sometimes people instead refer to these as the inner labia and the outer labia, which obviously also makes sense. This outer area is covered with pubic hair and naturally comes together somewhat day to day in order to protect the more delicate tissues of the labia minora and the vaginal opening and the urethra. Labia minora come in all shapes and sizes, and this variation is normal. Moving along to the top of this area is the clitoris. First, there is this movable tissue called the clitoral hood, which protects the clitoris, as again, it's a very sensitive area with thousands of nerve endings. It's kind of like the foreskin, as it is mobile and able to move back. The clitoris itself is visible as this little bud, but don't be mistaken. The clitoris is a much larger organ than meets the eye. We now know that the clitoris has longer legs that come along the labia majora on both sides and also around the urethra and up the front wall of the vagina. The function of the clitoris is purely for pleasure. Depending on what you guys think, we can have a more detailed session about that in the future too. So there you go. That's basic female anatomy. I hope you now feel more confident about basic anatomy terms. To learn more about function, come back and join me in episode 2 for the menstrual cycle. I'll see you again soon for more Only Doc Talk.